to the Trashion Icon. I am your host, G Spencer Morton, and this week, the G stands for Gynotickleobomastophile. You can look that up later, but maybe don't look it up in public. In each episode, we will be exploring a new kind of garbage, trash, recyclable opportunity, and find a new and creative way to transform that trash into fashion, aka Trashion. We will take a deep dive into each material to better understand what is it, how does it affect the environment, and how can we best recycle it. Then we will take inspiration from a variety of resources, from fashion history to music to literature, to create an entirely new garment. Together, we will turn crap into couture, garbage into glamour, and trash into Trashion. Everything I use will be garbage, secondhand, or recycled in some way. I make no guarantee that it will be a success, but I do guarantee it will be an adventure. One of the most crucial parts of any outfit or fashion statement comes down to one almost universal accessory, and that's our hair. As you may have noticed, I just got my hair redone. It looks fantastic. We've added orange to the mix, and I think it looks real good. I love trying new hair colors and haircuts, and I'm very experimental with my hair. Ever since I went very short with my hair, I've had a blast experimenting with colors, cuts, and different styling techniques. And I love the freedom and expression that anyone can do with their hair, assuming you have hair. If you can't make your own, store-bought is fine. Who has the best hair of all of us? Dolly Parton, and it's not even hers. Even though I absolutely love having short hair, sometimes I do miss having long hair. There's so much you can do with long hair if you're willing to put in the time, the effort, the hours, and the blood, and the sweat, and the tears. But I am eternally envious of those incredible, like, bouffanted, silky locks of the 1960s. I love that look, and that look has come back a lot lately, from Trixie Mattel to Anya Taylor-Joy to like even Adele. She did a lot of that, and they all look great. They look so sculpted and polished and simple, and I love those hairstyles. One of the looks I'm eternally envious of is the 1960s and 50s perms. I love those big swooping curls and bouffants and beehives and updos. They're so beautiful. I love how curled and sculpted and polished they were. They look great. I love those hairstyles. I love that sense of elegance and sophistication that comes with having your hair up. But even with those like big hairstyles, it still worked with the entire look, and that's what I really envy, is that commitment to this entire look and aesthetic with the big hair and the little dresses and the long legs and the little shoes. It's a great look. Looking back at this time in fashion, I learned some devastating truths that I may never recover from. Some of those hairstyles were wigs. I know, devastating. The betrayal, I may never recover. But that's kind of brilliant. Like, of course it was a wig. Like, obviously it was a wig. Like, it's such a brilliant idea. Instead of spending hours and hours doing this number, you would just pull your hair back into a bun or a ponytail and put on this helmet of hair and be all set. That makes so much more sense. Maybe I should start doing that. Wigs are kind of coming back casually, but even then, the wigs that are happening right now are just like those middle part flat wigs, which works for Cher, but we're not all Cher. You know, there's one Cher and it's probably not you. Unless it is you, in which case, hi. I think the closest thing that we still do as far as like fake hair is like extensions and hair clips that have those tufts of like really cheap fake hair. The wigs and the wiglets that we use now are just sad compared to how much they were doing in the 50s and 60s, and it bums me out to no end, honestly. But we just don't put the time and effort into like doing our hair as much. I would like to clarify and say this is mainly in regards to the white hair community and not the incredible and vibrant black hair community. They have been doing wigs, wiglets, and extensions the whole time and continue to amaze. Please continue being amazing. The extravagance and the elegance and sophistication of actually doing an updo is kind of gone. Lately, I've been really grooving and jiving to some 1960s and 70s tunes. Specifically, a genre of French pop music from the 1960s and 70s called yee yee, or yee yee girls. Yee yee was a style of pop music that emerged in Europe during the 1960s. The French term yee yee is derived from the English yeah yeah, popularized by the British beat music bands such as the Beatles. Yee yee was a particular form of counterculture that derived most of its inspiration from British and American rock and roll. Additional stylistic elements of yee yee composition included Baroque, exotica, pop, jazz, and French chanson. It's such a fun, vibrant, and coquettish style of music. It just exudes this energy that loves being young and free and a young girl. There are so many genres of feminism that address being a respected, serious woman, but not so many about loving being a girl, but loves the experience of being young and free and exploring the world and exploring yourself and having so much fun doing it. It's a very confident genre that really derives its power from an unabashed love of femininity, fun, energetic, feisty music. It's like a whole genre of Nancy Sinatra's These Boots Are Made for Walking, but it's all in French. And it's c'est très bon. C'est très bon. Along the same vein, I've actually been exploring some 1970s music that is clearly nostalgic for the 1950s and 60s, such as Sunny by Bonnie M and Right Back Where We Started From by Maxine Nightingale. Both have like a very yee yee girl vibe, but it's the 70s referencing the 50s. Very interesting to see that happening. One of the signature aspects of these hairstyles, besides the skyscraping volume, are these barrel curls. They're these large, perfectly round curls. These sculpted spherical spirals covered the head and created immense volume. The shape of these curls immediately reminded me of toilet paper rolls. So I thought that would be a great way for us to talk about paper and what's going on with recycling and paper. And for once, it's good news. Paper is almost entirely recyclable, and the recycling process for paper is almost entirely perfect. The end. Cut to the credits. Paper is not only widely recyclable, it's also very easily recyclable. In fact, it's so easy you could recycle it at home. But here's a basic rundown of what happens when you recycle your paper. Stage 1, collection. The most common way that paper is recycled is via curbside recycling schemes. These schemes make recycling as easy as possible. Stage 2, recycling. The start of the paper recycling process requires that the paper be separated into types and grades. The paper is then washed to remove any film, ink, glue, and other contaminants using soapy water. Once washed, the paper is then transferred to a large container where it is mixed with water to create a pulp. Stage 3, rolling. The pulp is then pressed, dyed, and rolled into large, thin sheets of recycled paper that can be over 50 miles long. Stage 4, selling. These rolls are now ready to be cut and used again for newspapers, books, and other goods that we can use every day. The process is so simple that you can actually recycle your own paper at home to create wrapping paper, journals, or just make new paper. Because paper is so easily and widely recycled, there are a few mistakes that everybody makes once in a while. Number one is thinking that your takeaway cup or takeaway paper containers are all recyclable. They're not all recyclable. If it has like a waxy filament on the inside, like a lot of coffee cups, that is not recyclable. If it's just paper and there's no like plastic stuff on it, it is recyclable. And number two is that wrapping paper is not recyclable. The paper that we use all the time for Christmas and gifts and other occasions that is designed to be ripped apart and then thrown away is not recyclable. Go figure. And number three is that if you are gonna throw away like a paper food container or coffee container or beverage cup, whatever, please make sure there's no food or liquid inside of it, because if you throw away like a halfway done cup of coffee and it spills all over the rest of the paper, that paper is either very hard to recycle or impossible to recycle, and that all goes to landfill. So if you are going to throw away a halfway done cup of coffee, dump it out on the ground first, or dump it over a tree or down a drain, and then recycle the coffee cup. On an industrial side though, paper recycling allows us to save both energy and resources. By recycling 1 ton of paper, we save 17 trees, 7,000 gallons of water, and 463 gallons of oil, according to the EPA. Every ton of paper recycled saves more than 3.3 cubic yards of landfill space, and if you measure by weight, more paper is recovered for recycling than plastic, aluminum, and glass combined. Additionally, 76% of paper mills use recovered paper, so the paper you throw away in the bins is finding its way to plenty of new products. It's very refreshing and inspiring to know that at least one of the major pollutants is being almost entirely recycled. Yay! We spend a lot of time talking about plastic because it's such a major issue, and while recycling techniques are improving every day, it's very good to know that paper is well taken care of and almost entirely recycled. And with more products and services going to paperless alternatives, the need for paper and the waste that it creates is going to continue to reduce. That does open up the door for the conversation of how much energy are we using in those service alternatives. That is a conversation for another episode. For this project, I actually spent the last few months collecting toilet paper rolls, which in this year is particularly ironic. I amassed way more than I needed, and I might actually continue making a few more paper wigs. I saw a very helpful TikTok of someone making a paper wig, and that was a great sort of basic tutorial on how they make the head shape and how they work with the paper. I also came across this great project on Instagram called Fashioning Our History. Fashioning Our History really inspired me to explore paper wigs using toilet paper rolls after I saw their Marie Antoinette inspired wigs. So starting with tinfoil, I covered my head with tape to capture the shape of my head. Then I built up the tape to keep the shape and add minor edits as I went. Then I started building up the curls with cut up toilet paper rolls of different sizes. Once I was happy with the shape of the curls, I filled in where the smoother hair would be with strips of newspaper to create the illusion of hair and texture and add a little bit more volume. While I was making this, I was watching some Shirley MacLaine movies, who I have noticed just now, she is the queen of wearing barrel curls. Like, all of her movies, she has these big curly hairdos. Irma la Douce, What a Way to Go, Sweet Charity, all of them have these great examples of these big 60s campy hairstyles, and I just love them. Shout out to this extra in the background of Irma la Douce. I just love her. Her purple and orange looks just amaze me. My eye always gravitates immediately to her in every scene she's in. Inspired by all the colors in these movies, I decided to spray this wig with a rainbow of colors. I think it really emphasizes this bright and vibrant 60s style. I made it all of the colors. It's a Technicolor wig. I love it. Joining us on another exciting episode of the Trashion Icon. I have been your host, G Spencer Morton, the Trashion Icon. If you've enjoyed this episode or have any thoughts, feelings, or opinions, please leave a like and comment down below. This show is brought to you by the Sonoma Community Center and the Sonoma Trashion Fashion Show. Well, I've got to dash to the salon now, so I'll see you later. Bye-bye!